Okay, we're here with Neil Broomfield, merchant adventurer, and we're going to do our quick 10 in 10. So, Neil, who in your business life has had the biggest impact or influence on you?
I can't name one person, but I think the influence from my early days in Monsanto were probably the most formative.
What's the hardest decision you've ever had to make in business life?
Probably the toughest was putting my house on the line with the bank to buy the first shipment of paint from Switzerland, which was many thousands of pounds.
Sleepless nights?
I don't generally suffer from that, so not really, but it was a nervous moment.
Yeah. What moment in your business has given you the biggest satisfaction?
Probably landing the bullet-resistant glass contract in Hong Kong. It was the most off-the-wall, unexpected, and potentially profitable thing that ever happened.
And was that the success of landing something that was way outside of what you normally do? Was it the excitement and the rush of trying to make it all happen and put it all together?
It was all of that. The other bit that I loved was developing a particular specification for the glass that would resist an AK-47 bullet.
Yeah,
Which was part of the
that was in
part
the
of the
tender.
challenge.
Yeah, okay.
I loved that bit.
Oh, dear. Well, that might tie in here. What was the biggest challenge you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
Well, it has to be in several places the same answer: the technical difficulties. In the case of the glass, getting the glass configuration right and having it tested to the satisfaction of the Royal Hong Kong Police and the Royal Hong Kong Jockey Club. In the case of the paint, to get people to accept that what we were saying wasn't magic, but was actually chemistry at work, these were probably the hardest.
And how did you overcome those?
Well, by persistently trying to explain the process of what was going on in logical terms. For example, the bullet-resistant glass has, it's really a sandwich of various materials, and the crucial one in the middle is polycarbonate, which holds the ingress of the bullet in a kind of parrot-shaped nose so that it doesn't penetrate the glass. And it's to make people understand that they can be behind this, and somebody pulls the trigger, it's not going to kill them.
So it comes down to communication, clear, concise communication.
And understanding the science of it, so that you can convince them that actually the bullet won't come through and hit them in the head.
Very
Or that you put the paint on and it's going to stay there and not fall off.
So over the years, how did technology change your business, the way you ran your business?
Oh, constantly, all the time.
In what ways?
In the way that when people made distemper, they never realised that you could make a paint that would go over distemper, in that sort of sense. In the sense that before, if somebody fired a bullet at you through a glass screen, you'd die.
What about in the actual function of running the business? You know, if you go from when you first started to, you know, when you finished, essentially, the technologies that were used in the back of house type of stuff, how did that impact?
Less obviously.
Yeah, right.
It's going on all the time, but I was at the coalface. I was marketing the stuff. The people that were making it and developing it were in a laboratory in Switzerland in one case, or in experimental places in Holland where the glass was developed, or in the case of the steel for the bridge, constant development in the Spanish steel mill. So it's not something I was actually personally involved in.
But the advent of mobile phones and email and all of those sorts of things, it didn't really change your business model. It was still a out on the road, face to face, on the coalface type of business.
Personal contact above all else, yes, and talking to people just so that you get spin-offs from conversations that you're not expecting.
Which you can't get in an email.
No.
Yeah. What was the biggest mistake you've made in your business, and what did you learn from it?
If it's a mistake at all, it was deciding not to get any bigger. I don't think it was a mistake. That was a conscious decision, and I don't regret it in any sense at all. I never wanted to run a big business. Big in the sense of a lot of personnel. Last thing I wanted, and I'm glad of that.
What was the most important driver for you in your business? Was it money? Was it passion? Was it need? Was it social change? What drove you to run your businesses?
It was recognising that working in big companies was not for me. I wanted to strike out on my own, forge my own way, and not be answerable to people that either I didn't respect or I didn't like working with, or whose opinions I would say were wrong, but that didn't coincide with mine. So it was really freedom.
So what books, resources, or other sort of information would you recommend for other business owners or people who want to go into business to look at?
I think I wouldn't particularly prescribe any book or detailed courses. I'm not sure that an MBA would ever have served me any purpose, and I'm not entirely convinced that it serves anybody any purpose, except for the next person they're going to employ should have an MBA as well as they do. I don't believe in stuff like that. I think it's either you have the common sense and drive to do it yourself, or to recognise if you can't do it yourself, to seek the right help. Without that, I don't think that you should try and set up on your own. You're probably better off working for somebody else, unless you have those attributes.
What was the one piece of advice that you wish you had been given?
I was half inclined to say the advice, don't do it, it's too risky.
Yeah.
But I'm ever so glad I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was probably sound advice. Stay secure, get a job as a bank clerk or something. But that's not for me.
No. Well, that kind of leads into my next question, which is, if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self and lay it all out in front of you, step by step, this is what you're going to have to go through, this is what you have to do, and these are the sacrifices you're going to have to make. The ultimate question is, would you still go through with it all?
I would kind of interpret that question a little differently, if you don't mind.
Please.
And ask myself, if I'd not done this, what would I like to have done? And in there, I'm fairly clear on my answer. Either to have been a barrister, a lawyer, or to be a conductor of a musical orchestra. One of those two things. I've been driven by them both, and I hugely admire people that are good at both of those things.
Well, that's our 10 in 10. Neil Broomfield, thank you very much.
Mark, it's been my pleasure.